Hello, welcome everyone to our second session for the evening of our District 5030 Festival of Training, our Rising Stars Interact and RYLA. Tonight's session will be presented by Susan Beals, our District Interact Chair, and Kate Matos, our District RYLA Chair. My name is Henry Wong from the Seattle International District Club, and I'll be the tech host for today. So I've muted everyone, and we just ask that everyone stay muted until the end if we have time for Q&A. If you have any questions along the way, though, feel free to drop them in the chat window. But without further ado, I will just turn it over to Susan to kick us off.
Thank you so much, Henry. Next slide. There we go. Thank you. So what we're going to be doing this evening is we've got two sessions, 1/2 hour for Interact and 1/2 hour for RYLA. And what we're going to be focusing on for Interact is celebrating the fact that we actually get to be with people and have meetings in person, which has been really a difficult thing for our Interact clubs because it's difficult to do everything via Zoom. But we have had some pretty active clubs even so. What we're going to talk about in particular is how to plan for fall quarter and some really cool projects that some of our clubs have done that you might share then with your other Interact clubs. So fun and impactful community service projects, and then also the very, very important subject of officer election and new member recruitment. So I'm not going to speak hardly at all. I'm just going to introduce our wonderful interactors who are going to speak. So first we're going to hear from Riley Campbell from Kentwood High School Interact, and she's going to talk about their food and pet drives projects. And then Cassie Johnson and Maya Moran from Tahoma High School Interact will talk about their garden and Peace Bowls project. And then we're going to wrap up with Aaron Lane and John V. Jagtap from Northshore Community Interact, and they'll talk about officer election and new member recruitment. So Riley.
Well, hello, I'm so happy to be here talking about this today. I'm going to wait for my slides to pop up. Thank you, Ms. Beals, for that introduction. There should be a PowerPoint soon.
Yep, Henry's doing that.
So today I'm just going to be talking about some Rotary food drives and pet food drives that we've been able to accomplish in this past school year. Next slide. So I'll just reintroduce myself. My name is Riley Campbell. I am a senior at Kentwood High School, and this year I am our Interact Club's Community Service Director. So I am planning the events for our club. Next slide. And so first I'm going to be talking about the canned food drive that we planned. So we were really struggling with our club to find volunteer opportunities during COVID when we're meeting over Zoom and people are nervous about coming together in person. And so we heard from our local food bank, the Covington Storehouse, about the shortages after Thanksgiving and the need for restocking the food bank supply in early December. And so as a club, we decided to host a canned food drive in 2 Saturdays in December for just 3 hours each day to benefit the Covington Storehouse. And so I'm just going to be talking about some details and choices you have when planning a similar event, some things to think about and such like that. So the first issue we had was location, because we had it all planned out to host it at Kentwood High School. And just a few days before the event, the district said, actually, no, you cannot have it there because of COVID rules. And so we had to scramble to find a new location just a few days before the event. So then we looked to Walmart, local in Covington, but luckily our Rotary liaison was able to secure Multi-Care, which was a great central location in Covington for a lot of people to be able to access it, see the signs on the road. And so we got a lot of traffic that way by hosting it at the Multi-Care. And so the next thing that we had to tackle was finding volunteers to come to the event. A lot of our members were worried about COVID and not willing to come out, but we were able to have 10 people there at a time due to COVID rules and distancing. And so this is the sign up form that I created just to track everything. And I created an Excel master spreadsheet to plan the schedule, make sure we always would have people there to be taking the food from the cars and packing it up in boxes for the food bank. And so you just have to know that you're going to be managing those different shifts and keeping track of who's going to be there. And so the next thing is we were really worried that nobody was going to hear about our event or show up. And so we were going to put all this work in and not have any food for the food bank. So advertising is something that was really important. Through these 4 things on the slide, this is how we got the word out about our event. Not a lot of high school age people use Facebook, but a lot of community members and our parents do. And so we were able to advertise through the Rotary Facebook and our parents' Facebooks about this event. We also used our local Interact page, our local Interact Instagram page, and our Kentwood High School Interact page to spread the word to the high school age students. And we got a lot of comments and likes, people that found the event this way. We also sent out emails to all of the students at Kentwood High School and Kent Lake as well, because our club was combined this year. And so all the students had it in their email inbox about this event. And then next slide, please. We created, an artist in our club created these wonderful flyers for us to just have a good, pleasing presentation of the information. And then we asked Covington Storehouse what the most needed items were and made this graphic on the right so that people would know what to buy, because we had a lot of questions. Well, what would be the most helpful thing for us to purchase for you? And so we created this graphic to make it easy for people to know what to pick up at the store. So for the actual food drive itself, you have to think about the materials and the setup, making sure you have a few people coming early to help you put up tents and tables and chairs. You also are going to need a container for any cash or check donations that you have to keep them secure. And then any sanitary materials, we just had like hand sanitizer and gloves for COVID. So just a few things to think about. You're going to have to ask around to have tents and things like that. And then during the event itself, you kind of have 2 choices with your donations. You can save it all up and transport it all at the end, but that can get a little bit difficult and time consuming. So we were lucky enough to have a Rotary member taking over different loads throughout the day to our food bank in a truck. And so that's something to think about if possible. Here's just some photos from our event. These boxes were really useful to have. We got some from Costco and just from other people that brought them by. Next slide, just some more pictures. You can see that the tables got really full during the event in that bottom right picture, which is why it was helpful to be transporting them throughout so that it didn't get too full. And then just some of our awesome volunteers. Overall, from these 2 Saturdays in December, we collected 4,160 pounds in food donations and cash donations of $680. So we were astounded by this collection. We were so happy we were able to make it happen. And it just goes to show what a little bit of planning can do to impact your community. And so now I'm going to talk about the pet food drive that the Rotary, our local Covington Rotary, had in early January. And so it was hosted by Rotary, but interactors came and helped. And so I ended up helping a little bit. Next slide. And so a few differences that we had that I want to touch on is this was only a 1-day event for 6 hours. So same amount of time, but just 1 day. And instead of 1 location, there was 2 at the Covington Walmart and the Covington Safeway. It ended up working out really well to have these at stores so that we could talk to people as they came into the store, get them interested, tell them why we were collecting pet food that day, build that connection with them to encourage them to pick up some pet food while they were shopping and drop it off to us on their way out. So if possible, I would encourage you to try to get it at a store location. It makes it easier for people to buy things. And then another difference we had was instead of using a sign-up form and then like creating that Excel sheet, we used Sign Up Genius so people could pick their own time slots, and that way they could always go back to that if they forget what time they signed up for. Something to think about for having volunteers sign up. And the inspirations behind this were just keeping animals with their families. A lot of our families that use food banks also have pets, and so pet food is needed at food banks as well. So here are just some photos from the event. Again, we have tents. Big signs are really helpful so that people know why you're collecting the food. Next slide. And then inside Safeway with carts to collect items and some of our volunteers. At the end of the day, we collected all the donations together. And so you can see this truck was packed full with pet food. We also had a few other cars with donations as well. And so next slide, that's kind of what I was talking about before with having people during the event carting the food over to make it a little bit more manageable. It took us 5 volunteers about 3 hours after 6 p.m. to get all it loaded and weighed at the food bank, and it was amazing. The food bank didn't actually have enough space for all the food that we were able to donate to them. Next slide. So overall at this event, just in that one day, we had 2,386 pounds of pet food donated, and we had the cash donations of $1,389. And so just a few differences with the pet food drive, but goes to show that a little bit of planning can make a huge difference. So I hope that these details inspired you to plan and hold a canned food drive with your club next year in the fall. And if you had any questions about it, feel free to reach out to me and my club, and I'd be happy to help.
While we're getting our next presentation up, that was really awesome. Riley, really, really good job. Thank you so much for sharing this great project, or both of them, with us.
Cassidy, it looks like you're still muted.
Cassie and Maya.
Got it. Okay. Hi, I'm Cassidy. I'm from the Tahoma High School Interact Club.
Hi, I'm Maya, and I'm the vice president of our club.
Oops. Go ahead. Oh, sorry. And today we'll be presenting our spring projects, the Interact Garden and the Peace Pools. So to start us off, I'm going to talk about our Interact Garden, which had been neglected for many years. It's behind the Maple Valley Food Bank, and this year we adopted it as our own project for Make a Difference Day. We used our $500 grant from the city, and we bought garden supplies, garden tools, a wheelbarrow. This summer, with the help of a few local Rotarians, we'll be building a shed, and we've already started cleaning up the garden and getting everything squared away, getting it to, to an actual garden state. Our plan for the garden is we're going to grow fresh fruits, vegetables, herbs, flowers for the Maple Valley Food Bank and the community that uses it as its resource. And since it's right behind the Maple Valley Food Bank, our hope was that it would make it easy and accessible for all community members who wanted some fresh foods. And slide.
So here are just some pictures from our April 8th volunteer date. This is the only full club volunteer date that we've had, but this is also the first one. So we basically just cleaned out all the stuff in the garden. There were just a ton of weeds and it was overgrown. So we invited all the club members to this event, not just people like Cassidy and I who are on the officers board. And it was a really big success. It got a lot cleaner and prettier. Next slide. So here's just the before and after picture. It's quite drastic. Obviously, we weeded and cleaned everything up and took out some trash. And we worked really hard to rewire the irrigation system, which was in shambles. And Gary Habenecht, who has a connection with the food bank, built us a composter in the back. You can kind of see it in the picture on the right, which we'll use when we grow veggies.
And this year for the Interact Garden, we had to choose our leadership team. And right now we call ourselves the Green Glove team. And we offered the positions to anyone who wanted to participate, not just officers or people who had been in it for a while, just anyone who wanted to join. We made sure that all participants knew exactly what was expected. We made sure they knew that it was a year-round project, that it would need to be kept up on, and that every Thursday, if not almost every Thursday, we would be meeting. Our current leaders include 2 juniors, Maya and Riley, 2 sophomores, Aditi and myself, and 1 freshman, Casey, and they've already put in a lot of work and dedication to make this garden a true success. And it's really amazing to watch how it's gone from what we started with to what it is now. And we have 2 Rotarian advisors, Jan Johnson and Gary Habenecht, and Craig Williams, who is also a part of our adult lead team. Now, this is our to-do list. When we first started this project in early April, we created a list that and sectioned it off to when things need to get done. We went from liability forms to what the costs and the measurements of each bed would be for irrigation. We covered pretty much every corner that we could with this project, and we put it down on paper and when it needed to be done by. On April 8th, we completed our entire to-do list, except for 2 things which we got started on and we're continuing right now. Currently, we're working on our sometime in May or June list, and that's mainly for the officers, me, Maya, and the rest of our Green Glove team. And we're already about halfway through that list, and we'll be moving on to the summertime pretty much after school ends. Now, this is a layout that Maya created of the garden. It just shows exactly where we numbered off the plants, or excuse me, we numbered off the beds that we have. And last week we got together as officers and we decided everything that we wanted to put into the garden. We decided which flowers would attract the most pollinators, which vegetables and fruits would grow best in the sunlight or in the shade. We set aside a bed, number 9 listed, for early harvest vegetables, holiday foods like zucchini and squash. And so we set aside that for around Thanksgiving time. And so far it's worked out really well. And thank you, Maya, for putting that together. Next slide. This is just a more formal list of what we proposed and wanted to put in. We recently, about 2 days ago, got the okay from Lindsay Habenicht from the food bank to go ahead and start planting everything except the onions. They don't need any more onions, but we got the okay for everything, and we'll be starting buying our seeds and starters and planting very soon. And I'm really excited to see where the garden goes. This is just a little bit more of our work, some pictures from the past few times that we've gone to the garden. In the red hat, Gary Habenicht, who, like Maya said earlier, helped build the compost. He's been a real big help for making this garden a success. Next slide. And in the top left is the officers. We met a few weeks ago for our first meeting. Down in the bottom left is the Moodoo compost that Craig Williams brought us. And this is just recently on the left when we dispersed the compost, and that's pretty much what the garden looks like right now.
So our next spring project that I'll be mostly talking about is peace poles. You may or may not know what peace poles is, but I'll just explain it. A peace pole is a monument symbolizing prevailing peace on earth. So there's peaceful phrases written in a whole bunch of different languages on every side of the pole. So THS Interact Club took up this project as an extension of Maple Valley Rotary's Peace Pole project. They made 5 custom poles and we're making 2. So we sectioned off 2 wooden poles into 8 sections each. And we had 16 members of our club paint garden themed images on each section. And we encourage them to just be creative. This was a really good project during COVID while we were all online, because we could just drop off the poles at people's houses. So we drop it off on a Saturday and they'd have a week, and the next Saturday we'd pick up the painted pole and give it to the next person. So every person could paint their section. So that was a really good thing. Here are just some little snapshots of our preparation. Me and my fellow officer, Ella Bowker, headed this project. These are just some of our planning documents. We made a little timeline like we have with the garden. We made a calendar for like drop-off dates and what each pole was going to say on it. So it really helps to be completely organized with like Google Forms and planning documents, because if you're organized, everything will roll out as smoothly as possible. Next slide. So here are just some examples of sections of the slide. This is when they're incomplete. The one on the left is by Ella Bowker, who's my partner on this project. The one in the middle, I painted. And the one on the right was painted by our club officer, Haley Klimo. And for example, oh, sorry. Back a slide. Ella's says you are loved in French. So that's just an example. Okay, next slide. So the poles are completely finished being painted now, and we're just gonna sign each artist's name on their section. So then in the next few weeks, we plan to have a partially or fully remote dedication ceremony, depending on COVID restrictions, to install one at the Interact Garden and one possibly near our high school in a roundabout. We want to include as many club members as possible, but we have to follow COVID restrictions, so we'll see how we get that set up. But it's been a really successful, during COVID, slightly remote project, and we hope it serves as a lasting reminder of peace in our garden and in our community. So I think that's all we have for you. Those are our 2 projects. Thanks for giving us time.
Thank you, you guys. What an excellent project. And also, you guys are so super organized. It's super impressive to us and inspirational as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we have membership, election of officers, and recruitment of new members. Janvi and Erin.
Hi everyone. My name's Janvi. I'm the membership director for Northshore Interact.
Hi, my name is Erin, and I am the Director of Public Relations at Northshore Interact.
Yeah, so we're going to be giving a quick presentation on membership and recruitment. So this is the agenda, kind of what we're going to go over for today. We're going to go over who we are, the planning, the process, and outreach, and lastly, social media. So a little bit about us. Northshore Interact, next slide. Northshore Interact is a 60+ member community-based club that includes high schoolers from 5 schools in the Northshore School District. We plan and execute service projects, and we have put on 20 service projects since September, including food drives, toy drives, and clothing drives. So one of the most important parts of membership and recruitment is the planning. This was the exact timeline that we used for this year. We started planning the election process and the whole recruitment process back in January, and we started with the membership meeting in April. So the planning is really important, and you want to make a timeline because getting the dates down is very important. So this was our schedule. We had co-president elections first, then exec interviews, and then normal membership recruitment. So we had a membership meeting with our current club on April 6th. We held co-president elections on April 27th. We had interviews for the co-presidents on May 1st, and they were announced. And May 23rd is when applications are due, and we'll be conducting membership and exec interviews in June. So we'll have our entire exec board decided by summer. So our process that we used this year is we had the co-presidents submit a resume, give a speech to the club, answer Q&A, and then our members voted on their candidate and gave feedback for each one. And then at the end of the week, interviews were held and the interview committee officially decided the 2 co-presidents. For exec members, we had them submit a resume and we're going to have them go through an interview process. And for just general members, we're going to be doing a quick getting to know you interview. So communication is really key for membership. I had a membership meeting that I directed at the very start of this to make sure that everyone knew what was going on. I stressed the idea that every exec member had all the information and anyone could come to any one of us, and we were always available to answer anyone's questions. And I made sure every exec member knew what was going on and was able to answer those questions, because there were a lot of parts to this and we wanted every member to know how to sign up for next year and how to recruit their friends. So part of that communication is just having stuff that people can just like read. So we had a few documents that we sent out. This was one of them. This was our info sheet. It broke down the process for co-president elections as well as exec elections. And then this was another one that we sent out. It was a document for exec roles, and it had all the responsibilities of every exec position. So when deciding what position people wanted to go for, they could refer back to this document.
Yeah, and so then what we did was outreach and making sure that we were advertising and getting people to sign up for membership roles. So 2 ways we did this was both the Instagram and the Facebook. I'll go a little more in depth in Instagram later, but what we would do is post photos of our club as well as using a link tree to get people to sign up. And we followed people on Instagram. That way they were able to see our account and then see photos of the events we did and then hopefully sign up. Another way we did this was with our Facebook. We had joined these Facebook groups, which are groups on Facebook that have something in similar. So Woodinville Neighbors, for example, would just be people who live in the Woodinville area, as well as nonprofit or like running groups. And we would advertise not only the events that we have had going on that were related to those groups, but also how to sign up for Northshore Interact and just let them know what we are as a club. Okay, so next slide. So like I mentioned earlier, a big way we did this was with social media. So here's just a screenshot of what our Instagram looked like. And on there, we made sure to post photos of the events we had in the past and what was also going on right now. That way people could get more of an idea of what we do as a club. And in our bio, we made sure to put in our location of North Shore area because unfortunately in the past, we've had some people who didn't live in the area who still applied. Next thing that we did was had this link tree. So on Instagram, you're only able to have one link in your bio, but we still wanted to give people the link to sign up for Northshore Interact while also giving them the link to our Facebook and our website and other stuff that we had going on. So we used this app called Linktree. We were able to get one link to this site that has a lot of your other links. Next thing we did is how we gained a following. So on Instagram, we found pages like Honor Society pages, Key Clubs, and even schools PTA. And we would follow people who liked those posts because we knew that they would have an interest in either volunteering or just were passionate about what was going on in their school. And by following them, we were showing them what our account was and hopefully having them sign up to be a member on Northshore Interact. So with that, do you guys have any questions about our membership process or how we reached people to sign up? Okay, well, if there's no questions, that's pretty much the process that we do at Northshore Interact for getting people interested and just how we were able to reach our club out to people in our area, especially with us being on virtual and all in Zoom. A lot of the way we advertised and reach people was through social media.
Thank you so much, Erin and John V. You've just done such a great job. And I think that your dedication to membership and recruiting and having all of your officers, elected, timely, not waiting like till the fall quarter, for example, it's really contributed to your success. And we want to applaud you for that. And I'm wondering if you're comfortable, if I can have some of our newer clubs reach out to you and get some guidance from you on this subject. Okay, great.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. You guys are great. All right, Kate. Now we're going to talk about RYLA.
Hey, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, perfect. So we're going to talk a little bit about RYLA. And the first question you might have is, what is this all about? And what I would say is it's exactly about all of the phenomenal interactors that you just met, these young leaders in Rotary. What we hope to do is to give them an intensive leadership experience that will help grow their skills in their clubs, but also help them in their career, in college, and the like. So it is a Rotary program, and we have a specific district program that is unique to us. So what we have is called the RYLA Northwest program. From 1969, when it was started, until 2019, we have held it at Pacific Lutheran University as a joint program of districts 5020 and 5030. And you might say, well, where did that come from? It was initially started in District 260, back when they used 3 numbers instead of 4, in Australia in 1960, and became a formal Rotary International program in 1971. So as you can see there, we started it as a district program before it was a formal Rotary program. We have the option to focus for a variety of ages, but we focus specifically on sophomores and juniors in high school. And we usually serve about 100 to 110 students each year. Well, that was until 2019. And then we had to cancel the March program last year. So end of story, we all went home, right? And didn't do anything for the pandemic. Wrong. We were very busy. So we hosted 2 virtual RYLAs this past year, and we were one of a handful of programs, at least in the Big West area, that did this. One of a even smaller handful in the United States that did a virtual program in 2020. So the first program we did in July 2020, we invited RYLA staff from District 7490 in New Jersey. They built something called RYLA University, which is an online platform for students to find out more about service, servant leadership, community service. And we worked with their team to host a program for our students who had registered for the March program. So of the approximately 88 students who had already registered, 47 of those came and attended our program. All you interactors, if you want, you can join RYLA University and go through the program without guidance right now if you're interested. And all of the videos and lessons that are recorded are actually by Rotaractors. Very cool, so check it out. The second program that we did was called RYLA Ascend, and we partnered with District 5320 in California to host a month-long program for all 3 of our districts. So in that, we combined 5020 students from Western Washington and Vancouver Island, our students in the Seattle area, and then Fresno, California students. So they had the opportunity in small group discussions to meet with their peers across states and in Canada to discuss different topics like homelessness and food insecurity. On the weekends, we had workshops where they were able to both learn a skill and interact on it. So get into small group discussions with new groups of students to practice those skills. And then we had something called action groups. So that was an opportunity to then put those thoughts and those skills into action for a service project that they would do after the program was done. We registered 212 students for this program across all 3 districts. So one of the other things that has been happening was we have begun transitioning to what is called a near-peer led program. So there's a variety of models, but what we're doing here now is that we are hiring students who are ages 18 to 25 to be our facilitators. We have a number of phenomenal Rotaractors and Rotarians who are approximately 24 to 25 who help us with organizing our team and running our curriculum. And then the team of younger facilitators are actually the ones who are leading the students. Partly we know from research that near-peer interactions are actually more impactful, but also there's this added dynamic that we have Rotarians who are interacting with individuals at the start of their career in order to learn more about servant leadership, skill building, team development, and the like, who are then learning those skills, practicing them, and passing them along to the next generation. So we have this iterative process, and what we hope is that in this way, we are helping to further grow Rotarians. So as you can see, over the past couple of years, we've been able to grow our team. You'll see 2020 looks small. That's because both in 2020 and 2021, we hired students from outside of districts. So these are only our students, but we've had 2 other districts in 2020, and then we had a total of 5 different districts, 6 if you count 5020 and 5030 as 2 different ones in 2021. So this is phenomenal in terms of growth, and what we're hoping is that all of these people will come back and join us when we get together next year. So in terms of that, I mentioned action groups. Rotary International is focused heavily on service learning for youth. So the idea is that when they come to RYLA, they will learn these great skills, and then they come back. We don't just, drop them off at home and say, hey, have a nice life, but we encourage them to get involved with their Rotary clubs and put those skills into use, just like some of these interactors were working with their Rotary clubs to put forth programs. So with that in mind, I am going to share, if I can, this is one of the action group programs that came out of South King County called the Spruce Project. Give me 1 second, it is not sharing sound.
Hi, I'm Riley and I go to Tahoma High School.
Hi, I'm Haley. I go to Tahoma High School.
Hi, my name's Jessica and I'm from Kent Meridian.
And I'm Shannon from Kent Meridian, and we are the Spruce Project, a high school group that is dedicated to getting kids involved in environmentally friendly activities. We all had the chance to participate in RYLA, a Rotary-based leadership program that was introduced through our school's Interact clubs. Through RYLA, we came up with the idea to give back to nature through small and fun challenges that we can do from our own homes. We are an entirely student-run project with an Earth Day challenge for kids K through 12.
Spruce stands for Start a Garden, Pick Up Garbage, Recycle, Upcycle, Compost, and Enjoy Nature. Simply choose one of these tasks, take a photo of yourself in action, and submit it to our Google form. That can be found on our website and social media accounts.
With your submission, you will be entered to win a plant prize. The list of plant prizes can be found on our website. You can enter as many times as you want, but only win up to one prize.
You can find out more information on our website, thespruceproject.wordpress.com, our Instagram @thespruceproject2021, and Facebook, RYLA Earth Day. You can begin entering April 19th and submissions will end May 3rd.
So this is one example of an action group project. We assembled students from all over South King County, and then they were able to come up with their own projects, create their own video, create their own website, flyers, social media. I honestly didn't know that this was still in existence until a month after the project, after RYLA ended. And one of the clubs contacted me and said, you have to see this great thing that the students are doing. So this is one example of how students might take the service learning that they're learning at RYLA and then putting it into practice. And my understanding is Northshore, some of your attendees, they came back with some ideas for their own Interact projects. So like these are the kinds of things that we hope is that by coming to RYLA, it's really just a boost to help grow your local youth programs. So what's next? We had a phenomenally successful virtual experience. Yes, we had 4 of the 47 students who attended in 2020 come back as facilitators in 2021. So that means we're going to continue virtually? No. We are very excited to share that we are going back to in-person camp. So we are in negotiations right now and doing the contracting to do an in-person camp at Camp Coleman, June 8th through 11th of 2022. And you might say, if you sent a student before, wait, this is a completely different time of year. This is not PLU. Yes, there's been a lot of transition, and unfortunately, we love PLU, but we do not have the facilities there anymore to continue in that location at that time. And so Camp Coleman gives us a lot of opportunities. First, it is a unique location on the water that is going to be a big change for a lot of our students. Second, they have cabins, and so this is a big change for what we've done in the past. At PLU, our students were housed in a gymnasium, and we had dividers to separate boys and girls. Right now, when we're moving towards cabins, we have a lot more flexibility in our housing to accommodate a wide, diverse group of students. So everyone from our conservative religious students who are very concerned about modesty, as well as our non-binary transitioning students. What we're going to do is provide opportunities for families to help select what housing accommodations they feel comfortable with, so that every single student who wants to attend feels comfortable attending and is supported. The other part that is a benefit here is that we also have the opportunity to put our students on low ropes courses and high ropes courses. We have a Rotarian who's just joined the committee who has experience as a certified facilitator. And so what we hope to do is take some of the lessons that we're learning about team development and leadership, and then put them into practice in some dynamic situations where they're both mentally challenging, but also physically challenging. So our timeline, we're kind of shifting things a little bit. Very shortly, we will start the facilitator hiring process. If you know someone who is an amazing alumni, an amazing Rotaractor, we want to know about them. We would like to consider them for an opportunity for employment. We pay nothing, except wonderful training opportunities and self-growth. So if you know someone who would be a great person for our team, please let us know. The second part is club reservations. So normally club reservations would be a little bit earlier in the year. We'd started in October. We're now going to shift that just slightly and start that in January. And we hope to complete our club reservations by March. So giving ourselves a little bit of a window to make sure that we're hitting our numbers for budgeting reasons. The next part is, of course, student selection and the reservation of those student seats. We had students who were selected and never completed registration. All right. We hope that our clubs, and we try and keep in tabs with our clubs, but that our clubs will help stay in contact with the students to make sure that they go through the full process, so they get registered, so they have the opportunity to go. And then finally, of course, we are going to have the conference, but before then, we're actually in the process of creating a Rotarian team too. Wait, what? What's the role of Rotarians? So we want you. This is a Rotary program. We want to be able to shine a big spotlight on all the great work that we do as Rotarians and how our young leaders can get involved, like Riley and Cassidy, who are attending service projects with their club members, you know, Rotarians and interactors working together. So we are looking for opportunities to integrate Rotarians into the projects and the programs that we're doing. So if you're interested in that, awesome, please let us know. First, how to sponsor a student. So the first part of the process is talking to your club about sponsoring a student. You may have done it in the past, you may not have done it in the past, but first having that conversation allows you to open the door for budgeting. This year, it's going to be slightly more expensive because we do have, I'm going to say, much better accommodations for our students. So we have not set the price yet, but I ask you to anticipate costs of $425 to $450 per student. Like I said, we will set the budget, but give yourself a little bit of space so that you know that you can send a student or two or four. The next part of it will be to select the students who are going to participate. So, oh, I'm sorry, I put the dates are 2021. I do mean 2022. Yes, next spring. We ask you to think about how to select students. So some of our clubs are very involved in the selection process. They interview students and then make sure that they go. Some of our schools or clubs are working with schools where the schools select the students and they might not even know the identity of the student. And this is where we run into problems where registrations might not be completed. So we ask our clubs to think about how to enroll high schools to help with the selection process, but also to make sure that they have a role and that they are able to follow through with the students. We ask you to communicate with the selected families and students. So there's going to be a ton of questions about what to pack, transportation, what are the accommodations. We take a ton of calls on those things, and we encourage you to also, if you receive questions, to field them or forward them to us. Like I said, our biggest goal is to make sure that every student who is selected feels comfortable attending and is encouraged to go, so that we have a very strong, diverse group of students to attend. And then make sure that they get to the conference. Who is eligible to attend? Sophomores and juniors. And since we're talking about the June timeframe, these are going to be rising juniors and seniors. So they'll be completing their sophomore years, completing their junior years, going on possibly to their senior year. We cannot accommodate any students who are 18 years or older. That goes to our youth protection. We have to actually use our screening tools, our youth protection screening, on any student who's above 18, so we don't accept them. The only caveat is if you have a student who is neurologically or mentally different and is school age appropriate, but maybe over the age of 18, we do make exceptions for those students, again, so that we have an incredibly diverse group of students who come to this program. What are good selection criteria? Students with leadership potential. So we're not looking for a class full of class presidents. That gets really boring. What we really want to see is really high opportunity students, anyone who's shown an interest in leadership, an interest in service, who would benefit from a program where they grow their confidence, their skill set, public speaking, that sort of thing. Finally, what is your role as a Rotarian? We hope that it's not like you select a student and then you say, have a nice time at RYLA, we'll talk to you later, maybe have a nice life. What we really hope is that you will invite those students to come back to your club and share about their experience. So a couple clubs have actually invited me to attend and hear about how students thought about what students thought about the program. It's amazing. The things that they take away are often the things that I am surprised that they remember or heard. So we encourage you to bring those students back, make them a program for the day. Ask them, are you interested in starting or growing an inner club? Do you have a service project idea? We're going to actively be encouraging students to think of service project ideas so that they can bring them back to their Interact clubs or to their Rotary clubs. Some of our clubs have actually, we found out, stayed in touch with alumni for a longer period of time. So one of the people that we recruited was a RYLA participant 3 or 4 years ago within college, and they were still in contact with our club, and the club reconnected us, and then we were able to recruit them, and they're a wonderful addition to the team. So if you have the opportunity to stay in contact with a student for the longer term, absolutely do it. And then another thing that we've seen is some clubs are starting to offer honorary membership to those students. They must be 18 years or older, so that they have a home base in their community when they go off to college. So when they come back to from college, they come back and they'll share with their clubs about what they've done since they left the community, how they're being successful. And again, this is another opportunity for us to keep tabs on those students, to encourage them to stay involved, to rejoin the community when they come back from college, and also if they are interested to join the RYLA program and serve other students to do this program. So there's a number of ways that you could get involved, but we do encourage that you do stay in touch with the students and at least invite them back for that first meeting. If you're interested in volunteering as a Rotarian, we're always looking for speakers or speaker nominations. We're going to need people for setup, breakdown, transitions at the actual facility. We are looking for different ways that Rotarians can get involved in either activities or service projects that we would do at the camp. So we would have at-camp service projects and then post-camp service projects. And then looking for mentors for our near-peer facilitators. So as I said, we're investing in our near-peer facilitators who are in that 18 to 25 range, and we're looking for Rotarians who want to help us with that. If you have a great idea for a project, anything, there's no idea that's too crazy. So please, if you have one, please reach out. We have had some really creative programming the past year. We've done 2 programs, but we've had some really great programming in this past year. And some of that comes from Rotarian ideas. For instance, one Rotarian offered the idea of daily challenges. And so our small groups use this idea of a daily challenge to allow the students to pick what they want to do, either individually as a club, or individually or as a group. I did not realize it, but it was one of the most impactful things at our last RYLA that the students talked about a lot. So just an idea, and then we see how it relates to impact. Another activity or idea was one of our Rotarians brought the idea of a how to apologize workshop. And we got a lot of really great feedback on the how to apologize workshop. So again, if you have any idea, there's no idea that's too crazy, we're always looking for them. Speaker topics, can it be anything from leading teams, benefits of service, importance of integrity, overcoming obstacles, Rotary initiatives like Harvest Against Hunger. We often also have something called a RYLA fair. So we have interactors, Rotaractors, youth exchange students come back and talk about what they're doing. We'd love to feature interactors in some of your projects if you're interested. So we have a variety of topics and ideas, and we welcome anyone to come talk to us. Here is your RYLA Northwest team. So if you're interested in serving, please reach out to us. We're always looking for new ideas and new members. We're also looking to expand our bench, so providing better website information, marketing materials, communication with parents and clubs, volunteers. So Lori Church has come on and she's going to help with our volunteer recruitment and organizing. So if you have a passion or an idea, again, I encourage you to come out and help us. And then finally, we are not as good at the interactors with social media, I promise, but we do have some of our people who are. And so we have our website. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, now TikTok. And then we can also just be reached by email, the old-fashioned way. So if you want to stay in touch or connect with us, here are all the ways. And if there's any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Everyone, feel free to unmute yourself and ask any questions. And you can also use the chat window if you would like.
I think that means that everyone's sending at least one student that's on the call, if they're not already a student. Yes?
So Kate,
a couple smiles.
Kate, this is Hal Beals. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. So I got a question. So the cost back before this got so wonderful, the cost was like $65, for the weekend. Or how much the most clubs used to pay for? I thought it was pretty reasonable.
So in 2019, it was $325.
Okay, before that was always $325. Oh, yeah.
Well, I should say, as long as I have been a Rotarian in this area, it has been
right.
$225-ish.
So it's going to go about It's going to go to about $460 or so. What
I don't know, because the committee hasn't gotten together. And one of the principles that we embraced during the pandemic was keeping costs as tight as possible. So we got rid of any giveaways for students, any T-shirts. We really made it as Spartan as possible. Mm-hmm. And so I think that is going to be one of the questions is how much of those things are we going to bring back? Like we gave them portfolios essentially for interviewing skills. They got a T-shirt when they left. And that's the question is, are those things still important to our students? Does it add value? Is this something we want to invest in? So until the committee reviews it, I don't want to commit to anything. It might be less, but I'd rather give people a larger number and not reach it so that they're budgeted appropriately.
Right. So in District 5030, how many clubs on average have participated in RYLA every year by sponsoring one or more students?
Approximately 1/3 to 1/2 each year. So not the best engagement from clubs. Although the clubs that do send us students often send us multiple students. So
well, I got
one of our goals is to get other clubs to know about the wonderful product.
Right. I think one suggestion I might make for you to kind of reach out, to clubs. I see that Howard is on, incoming district governor is on this. Every club has a website. Most have Facebook pages, and some even have Twitter accounts. If you can furnish some kind of material for them to put on their, sites with links to how to apply and so on and so forth, that might actually, help, get the word out, because we're all on Zoom. And everybody's getting a little bit better at it than we used to. But if you could be somewhat proactive with encouraging the clubs through, the use of your materials, kind of pushing them out to the clubs, that might be helpful.
That's a great idea. Thank you. And if you want to join our committee, I know that you're kind of busy with some other youth stuff, but.
Well, I might join if Youth Exchange could get equal time, but I know that's not going to be possible. But thank you for mentioning Youth Exchange a little bit earlier in your presentation. I appreciate it.
Karma?
Hey, I'm curious. I think one of our club members came back singing your praises, Deb Gombardo.
I think Deb's on here today.
Yeah, she is.
Is Deb here? Okay.
I'm here. I'm just not visible.
Oh, there we go. Hi, Deb. Deb came back to our club just absolutely singing your praises about what went on. And that in itself is a bit of a spark. I mean, we heard it, we paid attention in a way because it was one of our members. And my sense is, Deb, you can speak to this, that you were kind of passionate about this. Are you there?
Yeah, I am. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I was absolutely impressed with the skill set, Kate, that you were trying to give these kids in terms of how to facilitate. I mean, you were talking about leadership, but for me, what I saw was people facilitating projects and facilitating and making sure that everybody had input. It was amazing. But I have to say, I also see it reflected in the presentation that the students did today. I mean, I don't know. I'm just really impressed with the quality and how people are engaging everybody in this work. It's really
incredible. And now I've given you a good example of how I speak behind somebody's back when I don't think they're in the room.
No, you know,
well,
Kate,
and this
I think
is
one of the things.
A great example is this past year, we invited Rotarians to join our action groups. So that means that we had near-peer facilitators leading our action groups, but Rotarians in supporting roles in those groups. And we tried to match the Rotarians by location so that they were interacting with students from their area or from neighboring clubs. And so we did get a lot of really positive feedback because the Rotarians were not the point person. They did not have to be ultimately prepared and lead the meeting, but our facilitators were, and they got to meet one or more times with our facilitators to join the meetings, to help with the discussions, to share about what Rotary is and how these young leaders could access Rotary resources, how they could find out about a club meeting and go. And we would like to see more of that kind of intermingling of the generations so that the youngest among us have the benefit of the wisdom of our Rotarians, and our Rotarians can enjoy the ideas and the passion of our youth.
And that was obvious. There was people coaching people, but as a Rotarian that was sitting there, there was really little need for my presence. They did an incredible job.
So Howard, we're looking at how to do that in the in-person model. Yes, Howard?
Yeah, so I just wanted to go back to the earlier presentation just for a second before we go out here with the Interact clubs. And I have to tell you, I was just blown away by all the work that they're doing. I mean, they're actually an inspiration to clubs to do as much as what they're doing. And I'm just hoping that, and I'm asking and wondering, have Rotarians been invited to participate and help out and be part of that, or have Rotarians been there with some of your projects?
I can add on to this. Yeah, a lot of our projects that we have done, we've had Rotarians come in. I know Jan Johnson, she's a Rotarian. She comes into a lot. Rock Jenkins has been there. We've had quite a few Rotarians, especially with the food drives that we've done. And just, yeah, they're a huge help for a lot of our projects.
Well, I look forward to being one of those. So excited.
Look forward to having you.
Yes.
I was gonna say, I think I saw Carol on, and I think one of the most innovative things that we are doing as a district, and there's a lot of interest throughout Big West, is the 3-club model that is happening at North Shore with Rotaract and with the Woodinville Rotary up there. So if you're on and you want to chat, I mean.
Yeah, I'll slip in here. Absolutely. I'm very proud of our tri-club service family. So that's Woodinville Rotary, North Shore Rotaract, and North Shore Interact clubs serving together. We virtually serve together at every service event we have. So whether it be planned and executed by Rotary, Rotaract, or Interact, we just all come together as a family to serve. So we get excited when we have a event coming up that's a tri-club event. Like, all of us all get excited because we get to see everyone. So it is something that's going to continue and has worked really well for our 3 clubs.
Let me just comment about Carol's work. She is one of our most dedicated Interact and Rotaract liaisons as well. I mean, she's just fabulous and a great example to our other clubs who are involved with Interact and Rotaract, and especially Interact. Thank you, Carol.
If I could, a favor to ask, since I didn't realize Carol was on here either, and that is that I know in the district newsletter when it comes out, recently we did something about that tri-club group, but I'd like to do a focus about how clubs can work together with Interact and Rotaract, or, you know, in a better way, like an advice column kind of thing. Maybe Carol or Susan or Kate, any of you could help me with that.
Yeah, that would be a great.
Or maybe even have the students write something.
Yeah, that's a great project for us.
Yeah.
June 1st, due date. Thank you.
With
Well,
that, I'm looking at the time. I think, are we there?
We're there. We don't have anything after, so if there's any final questions, we could probably take a couple more if our presenters are okay. For a
Well,
few more
actually,
minutes. Okay.
This is Hal Beals again. I want to make a comment directed, I think, to Howard and also to our interactors, well, everybody indeed. You know, the North Shore model, Howard, of this tri-club, you know, thing working together is maybe that could be one of your signature, you know, steps moving forward. I don't know what your year is going to be like, but, you know, you are in a position to really encourage other clubs, because, you know, there are 20 plus clubs in our district that have Interact clubs. Some are more active than others, but what's happening in North Shore, I think, is a model that we could take forward, not only to the rest of our district, but actually to Rotary, you know, throughout the world. When I see these, you know, when I meet these young interactors, I'm so impressed. I mean, you guys really are the future of Rotary, and in some ways, we could probably actually turn Rotary over to you and really have some very successful years ahead. So if there's a way of working together, bridging this generation gap, making Rotary more active with the help of these fabulous students in Interact and RYLA, I'm all in favor of it.
Everything Hal said, ditto.
If I could, I just want to compliment both programs. I think you have done an amazing job making some fantastic lemonade out of this lemon of a COVID year. Congratulations to everybody. Just really impressive. Well done.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Awesome. And with those great comments, I think that's probably a good time to end it. But we'll go ahead and call this meeting